Why seeing too much destroys your peace and how to survive it, the invisible weight. Have you ever been in a conversation where everyone is laughing, but you can feel the tension crawling beneath their words, like something alive? Where you notice the forced smile, the way someone's shoulders tense when a certain topic comes up, the micro-expressions that reveal what people are desperately trying to hide. Most people walk through life with a kind of protective filter. They see the surface and they're content with it. But you see through it. You catch the things people spend their entire lives trying to conceal. And I need to tell you something nobody else will. This isn't just a gift, it's a kind of sentence. Because once you develop this level of awareness, once your eyes learn to see past the masks everyone wears, you can't simply switch it off. It's like trying to unhear a sound or forget something you wish you never learned. The awareness becomes permanent, woven into the fabric of how you experience reality. And here's what makes this truly difficult. While everyone else gets to live in comfortable illusions, you're stuck seeing the architecture of those illusions. You watch people play roles they've convinced themselves are real. You observe relationships held together by unspoken agreements to never dig too deep. You witness the silent suffering people dress up as happiness. The cost of clarity, let me be direct with you. The world runs on a kind of collective agreement to not look too closely at things. We've all signed an invisible contract that says we'll maintain certain fictions for the sake of social harmony, that will pretend not to notice when someone's marriage is failing, that will accept surface-level conversations as genuine connection, that will nod along when people present edited versions of their lives. This agreement exists for a reason. It's the social glue that allows people to function without constant psychological friction. It's why we can have casual friendships, professional relationships, and family gatherings without everything dissolving into uncomfortable truth-telling. But your awareness violates this contract. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but simply by existing. When you enter a room, you're like a mirror that reflects what people work hard to ignore. Your presence reminds them of the things they've buried. Your eyes see the truth they've spent years constructing elaborate lies to avoid. And people hate this. They resent it with an intensity that might shock you. Because you're not just seeing through their masks, your very existence suggests that the masks might not be working, that maybe others can see through them too, that perhaps all their careful image management has been futile. This is why you'll often find yourself labeled as intense, too sensitive, or over everything. These aren't random criticisms. They're defense mechanisms. By pathologizing your perception, people can dismiss what you see without having to confront whether you're right. The isolation that follows here as a truth that is difficult to accept. The sharper your perception becomes, the fewer people you can genuinely connect with. This isn't because you're becoming more selective or judgmental. It's because most people can't handle being truly seen. Think about it. Real connection requires vulnerability, which requires dropping the masks, which requires trusting that the other person won't use your naked truth against you. But when someone can already see through your mask without you dropping it, that feels invasive, threatening, like having your privacy violated. So they pull away, not all at once. Not with dramatic confrontations. Usually, it's subtle. Conversations become more superficial. They stop sharing certain things with you. They interact with you in carefully controlled doses, like you're something they need to manage rather than someone they can relax around. And you notice this too, of course, because that's what you do. You notice everything. You see them creating distance, censoring themselves, treating you with a kind of careful politeness. It feels nothing like friendship, and you can't even bring it up because doing so would only prove their point, that you see too much, that you make things complicated, that you can't just let people be. The loneliness that results from this isn't the kind that comes from being physically alone. It's the loneliness of being surrounded by people but unable to have a single authentic conversation, of sensing that everyone around you is performing, and you're the only one who seems aware it's a performance. The trap of speaking up now. You face an impossible choice. Every single day, you face it. Do you say something about what you see, or do you stay silent? If you speak, you become the problem. The moment you point out the obvious tension in the room, the dysfunction in the team, the pain someone's hiding, you're suddenly creating drama. You're making things weird. You're reading too much into innocent situations, and the backlash isn't always direct. Sometimes it's subtle. People start excluding you from conversations. Your input is dismissed more quickly. You find yourself on the outside of inside jokes. You become someone they work around rather than with. But staying silent has its own cost, and it's arguably worse. Every time you swallow what you see, every time you pretend not to notice, every time you force yourself to accept someone's lie as if it were truth, you betray yourself. You tell yourself that your perception, the very thing that makes you who you are, cannot be trusted. Do this enough times, and something inside you starts to break. You begin second-guessing your instincts. You start gaslighting yourself. Maybe you are too sensitive. Maybe you do read too much into things. Maybe everyone else is right, and there's something wrong with the way you process reality. This is psychological fragmentation. Part of you knows what you see is real, but another part must pretend it's not, for the sake of social survival. And living with this split, this constant internal contradiction, is exhausting in ways that people who do unexperience it can never fully understand. When your empathy becomes your prison, there's another dimension to this that we need to address. When you're highly perceptive, you don't just see people's hidden emotions, you often absorb them. You walk into a space, and within minutes, you're carrying the anxiety, sadness, and unspoken conflicts of everyone present. And the terrifying part is that you can't always tell what's yours and what isn't. You entered that meeting feeling calm, but you left feeling devastated. Was that your emotion? Or did you somehow download someone else's inner state without realizing it? This is like being an emotional sponge with no off switch. You're constantly soaking up the psychological residue of everyone you encounter. Their stress becomes your stress. Their unprocessed grief seeps into your chest. Their suppressed anger makes your jaw tight. And nobody sees this happening. To everyone else, you're just standing there, having a normal conversation. They have no idea that you're simultaneously processing their emotions alongside your own, trying to sort through what belongs to you and what you've accidentally absorbed from them. Over time, this can lead to a strange form of self-loss. Your own emotional truth becomes buried under layers of other people's feelings. You start losing touch with your authentic responses because you're so busy processing everyone else as internal experience. People sometimes ask those with high sensitivity, "Why don't you just toughen up?" But they don't understand. This isn't about being weak or fragile. This is about having a nervous system that picks up frequencies others simply don't receive. It's like telling someone with perfect pitch to just ignore music. The sensitivity isn't optional. It's how you're wired. The unexpected pathway through, but here's where things shift. Because I'm not telling you all this just to describe your suffering. I am telling you this because understanding the problem is the first step toward a solution that doesn't require you to become someone you're not. The transformation begins when you stop seeing your perception as something that needs to be fixed, when you stop trying to turn down your sensitivity or train yourself to see less, because that's impossible, and the attempt only creates more suffering. Instead, what if the problem isn't that you see too much? What if the problem is what you believe you're supposed to do with what you see? Most people with high perception develop an unconscious belief that if they see a problem, they're responsible for fixing it. If they sense someone's pain, they must heal it. If they notice a group's dysfunction, they must correct it. This compulsion, this unbearable sense of responsibility for everything you perceive, this is what destroys you, not the seeing itself. Think of it this way. You're walking through a forest and you notice a tree that's diseased. You can see it clearly. They're rot in the trunk, the wilting leaves, the signs of decline. Now, you have two options. You can try to heal this tree with your bare hands, breaking yourself in the attempt to fix something that requires conditions you can't provide. Or you can notice the tree, perhaps make a mental note, and continue walking, trusting that the forest has its own cycles of decay and renewal. Your compulsion to fix what you see comes from a good place. It comes from compassion, from caring, from not wanting to see people suffer. But it is based on a fundamental misunderstanding that your awareness of something makes you responsible for changing it. Learning to witness without drowning the skill you need to develop, and it is a skill, not something that comes naturally, as the ability to see clearly while maintaining boundaries around what you absorb and what you try to control. This means learning to say, internally, I see that this person is in pain. I acknowledge this truth, and I also acknowledge that their healing is not my responsibility to manage. It means recognizing that you can be aware of dysfunction without being obligated to fix it. That you can perceive someone's hidden sadness without taking it on as your personal project. That you can see through social performances without feeling compelled to expose them. This isn't about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about understanding the difference between compassionate awareness and compulsive rescuing. One honors both your perception and your boundaries. The other destroys you. You also need to spend significant time alone. Real solitude, where you're not processing anyone else's energy, where you can let all the emotional residue you've absorbed settle and clarify, like muddy water becoming still enough to see through. In this solitude, you begin to recognize your own emotional signature again. You remember what your anxiety feels like versus absorbed anxiety. You reconnect with your genuine responses rather than reactive patterns developed from years of emotional overwhelm. The paradox of detached compassion here, as something that seems contradictory but is absolutely true. When you stop trying to fix everyone you see clearly, when you release the compulsion to rescue people from their unconsciousness, something remarkable happens. People actually feel safer around you because you're no longer radiating that subtle pressure, that unspoken demand that they see what you see or change to match your awareness. You're no longer unconsciously judging them for not being as aware as you are. You're simply present, seeing them completely, and allowing them to be exactly as they are. This is the paradox. The more you try to wake people up, the more they resist you. The more you relax into your awareness without needing them to share it, the more they naturally begin to open. Think about it from their perspective. Would you rather be around someone who sees your pain and frantically tries to fix you, or someone who sees your pain, acknowledges it with their presence, and trusts you to find your own path through it? The second person gives you space to breathe. They see you without judgment. They don't make your struggle their emergency. And paradoxically, this non-interventionist presence often creates more healing than all the advice and fixing ever could. Finding your people, I need to tell you something important. You're not the only one who sees this way. There are others who live with this heightened perception, who struggle with the same isolation, who carry the same burden of awareness. And when you find these people, not if, but when something shifts fundamentally, because for the first time, you can be fully seen without having to explain yourself. You can reference the things you notice without being met with blank stares or accusations of overthinking. These connections are rare, but they're worth more than 100 superficial friendships, because with these people, you can finally relax. You don't have to manage your perception or pretend to see less than you do. You can speak in your full language, knowing you'll be understood. Where do you find them? Often in unexpected places. Sometimes in creative communities, sometimes in healing professions, sometimes in philosophical discussions, or spiritual spaces. But the real answer is, you find them by being authentically yourself, by not hiding your perception, by letting your awareness show naturally in how you move through the world. They'll recognize you, just as you'll recognize them. There's a certain knowing that passes between people who see beyond the surface. A recognition that needs no words, the gift within the curse. So here we are at the end, and I want to bring this full circle. Yes, seeing what others don't is dangerous. It can isolate you, exhaust you, make you a target for defensive anger, and cause you to lose yourself in others' emotions. But it's also the source of your deepest gifts. Your ability to see truth makes you someone safe for people who are ready to stop performing. Your perception allows you to offer genuine understanding in a world full of superficial platitudes. Your awareness, when wielded with wisdom, becomes a healing presence that asks nothing in return. The question isn't whether you should have this ability. You dois it, and pretending otherwise only creates suffering. The question is whether you will learn to carry it with enough skill that it becomes a gift rather than a curse. These are keyless boundaries around what you absorb and what you try to fix. Regular solitude to clear others' energy and reconnect with yourself, releasing the compulsion to rescue everyone you see struggling. Finding others who share your level of perception, accepting that most people are unready for the truth you see and that it's okay. Learning to be present without being responsible for others, awakening your heightened awareness is both your burden and your superpower. The question isn't how to get rid of it. The question is how to live with it in a way that honors both your gifts and your need for peace. How to see clearly without drowning in what you see. How to remain awake while allowing others their right to sleep. This is the art of conscious living, not forcing others into your awareness, but maintaining your own clarity while moving through a world that mostly prefers comfortable illusions. Being the person who sees, without making others wrong for not seeing. Holding truth lightly enough that it doesn't become a weapon. And in this balance, this delicate dance between perception and peace, between seeing and allowing, between awareness and acceptance, you finally find a way to live that doesn't require you to become less than you are. You're not broken. You're not too much. You're awake in a sleeping world, and that comes with a cost. But it also comes with a gift that, when handled wisely, makes you irreplaceable to those ready to see truth. The danger is real, but so is the possibility.